I just want to remind everyone that you can't practice body positivity. Body positivity is a social movement. You can practice body neutrality, and I highly recommend you do, but you cannot practice body positivity unless you're actively trying to dismantle the systemic oppression.
Why is body neutrality something you can practice, but body positivity gets to be gatekept by the fat acceptance community? Anyone gets to be positive about their body. But the fat acceptance movement really needs to drop this whole body positivity is ours shtick. Just because the fat acceptance movement has infiltrated the body positivity movement, multiplied...
Calling someone fatphobic for wanting to keep their body at a healthy weight is absolutely ridiculous.
I've seen a couple of TikToks like this where people are kind of saying the reason they don't want to be fat is because being fat is unhealthy, and it's not fatphobic to not want to be unhealthy. But the thing is that healthy weight is going to be different for everyone, and there's a huge range of different healthy weights and healthy fat distributions that people can have. Additionally, there is research that suggests that it's actually your behavior that is far more important than your actual weight in determining health outcomes. So things like eating a balanced diet and exercising, which you can do regardless of your size. And additionally, having a very low body fat percentage is incredibly unhealthy. But you don't really ever see people saying, oh, I don't want to be skinny. In fact, there are hugely popular competitions designed around having their competitors get to an extremely low and incredibly unhealthy body fat percentage for aesthetics. We have been conditioned as a society to associate being fat with being unhealthy, and that is part of the reason why fat phobia is so pervasive.
First of all, the range of healthy body fat percentages isn't wide enough to include anyone that weighs 300 pounds. And most people, especially women, shouldn't be above 200 pounds to be within a healthy weight range. Second, she said that people can practice healthy habits at any size, which is true, but just because someone has some healthy habits or alters their life to have more healthy habits, it doesn't necessarily mean they're healthy. If someone is eating a fast food burger and fries every day, and then they shift to eating a burger and fries at home every day, that's the same amount of calories, that's probably healthier, but it still isn't really healthy. And a balanced diet also includes eating the correct amount of food, not just the correct type of food. And with this statement that being underweight is unhealthy, but you never hear people saying, I don't want to be skinny, you're basically saying that skinny equals underweight. That's not what people are saying, and you're just trying to twist people's words to fit your narrative. And yes, people do bodybuilding competitions and get very low body fat percentages in order to do it, but most reasonable bodybuilders know that their competition bodies aren't sustainable or healthy long term. You rarely see bodybuilders, especially women, saying that everyone should live on their level of body fat because they're the peak of human health. So stop trying to take this body fat and health argument to extremes. Obesity isn't healthy, and it's okay to acknowledge that.
So I just read about this thing where airlines are going to start weighing plus-size passengers before they get on the plane. I only read a brief article, so I'm not well-versed on all of the specifics of this. But what I did read said that basically airlines are trying to gauge how much fatter Americans are, and that is actually something that the New York Post said, so that's cool. And that, at least to start out with, this will be on a volunteer basis. But I don't trust like that. I'm not going to get into specifics about it, but this is like beyond demeaning and humiliating and is frankly fucking disgusting. So I actually never want to hear another skinny person complain about body shaming ever again. Thanks.
Let me start out by showing what she's actually talking about. About a year ago, there were reports that people were going to be randomly weighed in airports to get a better idea of the average size of passengers due to the rise in obesity. The fat acceptance movement took this as a personal slight against them, even though to get an accurate number of the size of the average flyer, they would have had to have weighed everyone at random, not just fat people. She said she doesn't trust it because they'll move on from it being voluntary to forcing fat people to be weighed in order to shame them. But why would airlines do that? What do they get as a business from trying to humiliate people? So you can dislike the idea or find the idea of having to step on a scale in an airport uncomfortable, but you're completely misrepresenting what's going on if you say this is somehow fat shaming. This woman in the end said that essentially, I don't want to hear about skinny shaming because see how institutionalized fat shaming is? But weighing people at random is not fat shaming. So stop trying to shut down skinny people with your own manufactured outrage.
So by now we all know that before and after pictures are really harmful for a lot of reasons, but you want to know what's actually worse than that is when someone posts a before and after photo and then in the caption or in the voiceover they go, but the real change are the changes you can't see. Why'd you use a before and after photo then? Why do you want people to associate your internal badness with your external badness and your internal goodness with your external goodness? Why?
Why do they show the before and after picture if the change is internal? Because the photo is a visual representation of the change. Do you want a photo of their insides? This person is mad that people would put more emphasis on the mental changes associated with weight loss than the physical ones, but that's what fat activists say people should do all the time. Focus on how you feel and not how you look. But when someone acknowledges that their weight loss was more about the mental journey than anything else in their caption, then they're still offended by it? How does someone win? There's no way of winning with these people.
I'm confused, Zach. Nobody ever said anything about portion controls or overeating in this post. Why are you automatically going to that conclusion? Oh wait, is that because you're associating my size with what I'm saying? And you're automatically adding a biased stereotype to me that I overeat because I'm fat? Is that what you're doing? Is that it?
First of all, saying that fat people, like yourself, that are very overweight, consistently overeat is not a biased stereotype. It's a fact. Not an opinion or a stereotype, just a fact. And I don't know what post this comment is from, but I will say the advice to Marissa to control her portions is exactly the advice she needs. I've watched many of her What I Eat in a Day videos, and she doesn't eat wildly unhealthy foods or a ton of processed foods, but her portions are pretty out of control. So I think that may be what this person is referring to.
This is the comment I'm going to respond to because they're pretty much all the same, and this one stuck out to me. Maybe skinny people who have body image issues could not use fat as a bad word and could not make my body type bad. Maybe when a thin person is having a bad body day and is not feeling too great about themselves, they could just say, ugh, I'm just having a really bad body day. Like, they don't have to say the word fat. Saying you feel fat or big when you really just mean you feel ugly is like reinforcing the idea that like being fat and big is ugly. Also, this was literally a joke for fat people by a fat person. But if you want to make it about yourself, like then people do with every body positivity conversation, then go ahead, be my guest.
It may be uncomfortable to hear other people show disdain for traits your body possesses while referencing their own body, but that seems like something you need to work through on your own. Especially if thin people are doing it on their own pages and not referencing fat people and just talking about their own insecurities, you need to just leave them alone. This video was made in April of 2020, so if nothing else, I can say this woman is consistent in her beliefs. But people worrying about how they are going to remain physically healthy without their normal gym routine or without access to the normal foods they eat, considering how frantic people were at the beginning of the pandemic and how empty the food shelves were, that is not inherently fatphobic. If that's the conclusion you came to, it's probably because of your own insecurities.
He's only this big. How many diapers could he possibly use? Oh, that's not so much.
The point of this video is to show that it's not just food and exercise that determine someone's body size, but aside from genetics, none of the topics they listed, like food deserts, geography, mental illnesses, etc., are directly related to your body size. If you are depressed and you cope with food and lack of exercise, it's still the food and exercise that got you to your size. It's the same reason that a lot of people that suffer from depression also have dental problems. It's not because depression directly affects your teeth, it's because people who are depressed often neglect oral health, which leads to dental problems. And we don't say the solution to that is just normalize tooth decay, it's fine. So if you believe these are problems, then why don't you work on fixing these problems instead of trying to normalize being obese? And why do I rarely hear fat activists talking about food deserts unless they're trying to justify the size they are? And when you look at the genetics debate, genetics hasn't led Americans becoming 25% fatter in 2 generations. So find something else.